EQ or IQ? Which one do you want in your toolbox? Let's get into it.
Farewell and adieu to your Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to your ladies of Spain. For we've received orders to sail for Roding.
Sales requires a vast reserve of creativity, a deep capacity for lateral thought, and extremely high emotional intelligence, EQ over IQ. I was trained on this 12 years ago. People have talked about it, want to give my perspective. EQ, what does EQ mean to me? EQ means to me an ability to read people in a genuine way, You know, I love the role of sales because it could be simultaneously demanding, hugely gratifying, challenging, but never, ever boring. So I've been fortunate, and I didn't realize it at the time, to be able to work for some truly great companies in the pharmaceutical sector, the tobacco sector, the startup environment. A lot of these people in the startup environment were at GeoCities, merged with Yahoo. You know, firms that truly value the collaborative process and the individual process. And I needed both, individual contributor and collaborative. If I had to fight for one or the other, I wanted both. And it was important for me to be an individual contributor and collaborative. And I like to be part of companies that allow me to do both. When I was stifled, I did not thrive as well. So why should you listen to me? Everyone talks about sales. You know, I've been through the ringer in corporations and reading all the books and the training. And I remember on a business trip, and while in air, an individual leaned over and asked the dreadful, "What do you do?" Not, "What's your name?" It's like when you first meet someone, "How old are you?" You know, so, you know, I said confidently, "I work for Big Tobacco." She said, "I feel sorry for you. You should be ashamed of yourself." You know, I retorted, "It's some of the best people I have worked for in my career." And she looked at me dumbfounded. And I just turned my head and kept reading my book. So, you know, the same can be said, in my opinion, for the pharmaceutical sector. You know, great training and life experiences. These companies treated me very well, in my opinion. And when I was working in the startup game, in bizbuyer.com, MindSpring Internet Services, that taught me critical thought on a higher level. And now running my own business, you're doing everything. And like I said, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, startup companies, started my own business, and I've been fortunate as well to have worked for some truly great leaders to build my skill set throughout my career, and terrible leaders where I learned what not to do. And that's what I learned very early on from a mentor. Every meeting, good or bad, you can take away something away and add to your toolbox. You know, for example, you can take away what not to do if the meeting is god awful. There is always some nuggets in there in every interaction you have with team members or clients. So what is money to me? Why do we get out of bed every morning? I don't get up for the money. Money is energy. Money is energy for me. And what do I mean by energy? You know, money is nice, absolutely. I like the process that leads up to the reward. It's to climb up the mountain that is the funnest. Being at the top is boring. So, you know, that's when you might get soft and weak. So for my mindset, always learning and doing multiple revenue streams is the only way to live. I'll never retire. You'll have a heart attack if you die. I don't like to sit on a beach 7 days a week. I got to do something. And then eventually give back in a big way. So we all know that some of the richest people in the world didn't even go to college. And one of the oldest professions in the world is sales. And peeps that work in sales are some of the richest, most successful people on the planet. And, you know, I have friends that are embarrassed to say they work in sales. They always have a title, like at Goldman Sachs, every other person's a vice president, and they work in customer service. just kidding. It's sort of true. And, you know, I don't work in sales. I'm a portfolio manager. Everyone works in sales. Even if you specialize like a lawyer, you're pitching your products and services. You have that advanced degree because you got to know certain aspects of the law, but you're pitching your products and services so people will, you know, hire you. So it's only natural that in uncertain economic conditions that we have right now, and it's been throughout history, it's going to create some anxiety for salespeople and buyers alike, in whatever profession you work in. But a shift in your focus can help you, quit the fear and show up for your customers when they need you most. If you're in the sales game during these times of economic uncertainty, you have your work cut out for you. Even in a recession, individuals and businesses still have problems. Absolutely, that need solutions, and that's what you are. You're a solution warrior, and as long as you have a product or service that's efficient and effective, and it has the potential to sell, and an empathetic, customer-centric approach for sales, in my opinion, that will help you connect with customers and solve their most urgent problems, because that's what they all want, and identify the most authentic version of yourself, no matter what the challenge is. You should always be able to turn uncertain times into an opportunity to succeed. So EQ is just enormous. It's huge. It's who I am at my core. The impact of EQ for you and your team is going to help you unlock the potential. You need to understand that there are a whole lot of new variables right now when selling in today's world, in the COVID world. Some things called COVID-19, the pandemic, changed the rules of the game. Maybe not permanently. Some people are going to drag this pandemic out, but the next decade or so at least, virtual conferences, limited capacity, sporting events right now, the entertainment venues, online retail, virtual education, video training, new companies coming out with apps. So some people have made a bundle. New models, for our new world are emerging every day. But the bedrock of sales is, always has been having a high emotional intelligence, in my opinion. And, knowing is the emotional quotient, or EQ, if you've had that training, the psychology of selling. EQ, the psychological equivalent of IQ, is the capacity for reorganizing our feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves, and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. But the key is in a genuine way, and that's what I'm adding into the mix. EQ is an absolute requirement for effective and suitable relationships in your personal life, and should not be regarded as a soft skill in business. It's an important skill. It's a hard skill, but as a critical one. And when you think about it, buyers actually might have a lot more information than you, or a different version of information. So you've got to somehow get into their head and enable them to be, to share with you, so you can help them ultimately weigh out whether the decision's right or not for them. So, these times are uncertain right now, the uncertainty with the COVID, so igniting right now the EQ factor in these uncertain times, I think is more important now than ever. You got to be creative. You got to think between the lines. So having a high IQ might get you a job with NASA when you take those tests, but when it comes to selling and your life experiences in life, it's not enough. EQ also matters. In fact, psychologists generally agree that among the ingredients for success in sales and life, IQ accounts for only 10%. The rest depends on EQ. You want to get that promotion, you think it's going to be IQ once you get the gig? And, with regards to the sales process, I remember a mentor in my past that lasted about 2 weeks stated to me that if, you get to maybe in the sales process, then that is awesome. That is awesome. That maybe, you're almost at the they're going to buy from you. That is some of the worst advice I received in my career. Maybe, in my opinion, sucks, period. When you get prospects to clarify their objections, and we want to get them to, specifically identify the problem or challenges that they are finding with our solution. So remember, Our overall goal is to get the prospect to say something. You got to get them to say either yes, no, or maybe. I get it. Okay, great. You got hope. And for the record, once again, maybe sucks. It really sucks. Maybe gives you hope. And I'm not a fan of hope. You've got hope, great. But you're in the stands and you need to get on the field in the game. So, here's the deal. We can't change your prospect. The only person you can change is you. And no matter how you slice it, this isn't the best approach in terms of sales tactics. Okay, so sales managers, leaders, trainers, and coaches need to start working with sales reps to help them stop accepting maybe as a viable sales response. I've heard it so much. Oh, you got to a maybe, that's great. Write it up in your weekly sales report. We need to get them to start asking for the order, bottom line, the power of no. That starts the conversation, the sales response. Here's the deal. Asking for the order is the beginning phase of getting an objection. So you need the objection, the no, in order to move the next step. What is that? You're getting conflict. Conflict drives everything. That drives the conversation. And that's especially true in sales. You want to get to that no. You want to pin your prospect down. So here's some thoughts to push the sale forward, going off the EQ that we talked about. Number one, don't be afraid to ask for the business. Ask for the business. What's the worst that could happen? You're asking that person out you like. They're going to say no. Big deal. There's plenty of fish in the feed. There's other prospects. Big effing deal. Number two, be in the moment. Use a script if you have to. Create one in your own authentic voice. I believe in scripts. When you're dealing in higher end sales though, people, purchasing authority and organizations are seasoned and they know when you are checking boxes and you're not genuine. So you want to get to the point where you don't need a script when you're over the phone. And it's good to practice in front of a mirror. So number three, ask good closing questions. The point is there are a lot of good questions. You need to get them to make the close. So in general, yes or no questions don't get you as far. Prospect needs to be talking about their pain points and what your solution is going to do for that problem. Get them to talk, probing questions. So the bottom line is, you want to face the conflict right away, hear that no, keep pushing and moving that conversation forward. I think that's a good, starting beta approach. You don't want to live your life on hope. Face the music and you will sleep better at night. Get that no right away. And that just piggybacks off EQ as far as the sales process. A hot button for me was maybe. I remember early on in my career, someone said, oh, when you hear maybe, that's fantastic. Maybe sucks, people. And the bottom line is also, EQ is so important in the sales process. I could delve into the psychology, but I don't want to bore you. There's other videos on that. But I've had this training 12 years ago, and it was so valuable. But let me end with this. You can read all the books in the world, in my humble opinion. I've read spin selling, solution selling, needs-based selling. I've had all that training. But either you have it or you don't. Some people have an innate wisdom. They can walk into a room, they have an energy, and they own the room. That can't be taught. That can't be taught. And, reading some books, if you know nothing about sales, will help you. But you either got it or you don't, in your body language, the way you interact with people, the way you show empathy. I believe in empathy. I believe in some vulnerability. I could get into conversations about that, but there's also times to be stern and tough. And you got to be able to change your personality. You got to be multiple people. And a lot of people don't have the ability to do that, but it has to be done in a genuine way. And what I mean by that, if you truly care about people, you truly love having conversations with people, which I truly do, and you truly love, helping people solve problems. Part of the reason I majored in psychology is one of my majors. I love the human the mind and the behavior and understanding behavior and observing people and trying to figure out what their conflicts are and providing solutions. That's going to come across if you truly love to do that. A lot of people don't like to do that, or they don't know how to do that. But I mean genuine, and a lot of people are not going to come across as genuine. So you can read all the sales books in the world, but in my opinion, you either got it or you don't, and I can tell who's got it or who doesn't. So I think reading books and learning a process is good, and there's some things to learn there, and I'm not saying that training I didn't have is valuable, but early on, I'm selling. It's all about the conversation in a genuine way, and it's the it factor, and either you have it or you don't. But you can work on your skill, and I encourage to read books, and I'll share with that stuff that I've read, these books that I think are good, but you got to be passionate and you got to be genuine, and it's going to come across, and your prospects, especially at higher level sales, are going to know if you're full of shit, and if you're not genuine and you're just checking boxes. So EQ is very important, and then piggyback off that, maybe. Maybe sucks. You don't want to hear maybe. Get to a no, face that conflict head on, and ask those probing questions and go through the process. Take care, be kind, have a wonderful day.